Three, two.
A very good evening to you. This is Conversations with Clive Williams. I am Clive. Wishing you a great evening. Saturday evenings, I come to you at 6 o'clock. Our schedule has been kind of revised. Instead of coming to you 4 times for the month, I'm coming to you now temporarily, two times, twice per month. And I look forward to these conversations with you. My guest this evening is one who is exceptional in a number of ways. This lady has made history already. She's a history maker, and clearly, in view of her very short sojourn here on this planet, she's a young person. She will be making more history as the years go by. My guest is Selvena Brooks-Powers. She is, I want to say, the newly minted council member, and I tell you why I say that. She had to do a special election, I think it was last year, February or something like that. And so she had to run for election again in November. And so she is now the established council member for District 31 in Queens. And so I'm going to be introducing her to you. She's obviously no stranger to a number of you. But it's the first time that I'm having her with us here on Conversations with Clive Williams. And I am going to make sure that it's not the last time. I'd love for her to be with us for a long time this evening, but she has some other things to do. So we're going to make this as impactful as we can. Council member Selvena Brooks-Powers, good evening.
Good evening, Clyde. It's such a pleasure to be here. I was pretty excited to be a part of Conversations with Clive. You're such a instrumental voice in the Queens community, but even larger than Queens community in the Caribbean community. And so I'm so excited to be a part of this platform to talk to your viewers.
Oh, I'm delighted that you feel that way. We had our Consul General. I think that was the last show we did. Consul General of Jamaica, Alcion Wilson. And I tell you, we had such a great time. And I looked forward to having you on because you are both real movers and shakers. You're women who have made a difference in communities, and you in a very special way. I recall meeting you for the first time when you were the manager of MWB program, right, at the airport revitalization, JFK revitalization program. And just the way you dealt with our community and your constant vigilance with respect to equity for the community, your constant vigilance for the education in our community, for services to our community. I was very impressed with you, and I kind of saw you rising in that position and making an impact there. But you made an about turn. I don't know if it's an about turn or you went tangentially or whatever, but you decided that you wanted to run for elected office. What precipitated that decision?
So, fun fact, I actually ran for the same seat in a special election in 2013.
Ah.
I obviously did not.
When you just left school, right? When you just left high school.
See, this is why you're one of my favorites, Clive. Yes. But yes, in
Oh man.
2013, much younger,
Yeah.
um, I had run in a special election right after Sandy happened.
Wow.
And after not winning that, I continued doing work in the community and across the country, quite honestly, around issues impacting communities like ours, especially around access to just resources that our community need, whether it was UPK filling buses to Albany for lobby days, or with the Fight for 15, working with labor to increase the minimum wage across the country, and then returning back home to work on the JFK redevelopment program. My journey has not been a straight path, but it's always centered around community, marginalized communities, and making sure that we have a voice at any table that exists. And so, in working at the JFK redevelopment, it was a great time there. Ensuring that any opportunity that came about, we were able to leverage the JFK redevelopment for the community to have access to opportunity. So much so that when we built out a $2 million community office, 84% of the contractors were MBEs, minority business enterprises. And every contractor, with the exception of 2, were from the local community. And that was historic in itself for the Port Authority, and was a change in the culture at the Port Authority. After that, we had a number of additional achievements there, including securing a opportunity for 2 local businesses to become operators at the cafeteria on airport at the administrative building at JFK. And that was an exciting opportunity that our community showed out, and won that bid. And when the opportunity presented itself for a vacancy in the 31st Council District, it was not a decision I made lightly. As you know, I had just had a baby.
Yeah.
And so that was very new to me. This time around, unlike when I ran in 2013, I'm married. So this time I have a family to think about. And with having a family, my thoughts about community, my thoughts about what our community deserve, has really expanded even more than where it was several years ago. And I felt that I was qualified, equipped. I'm always advocating for good voices to run for office, especially women voices. And I was pretty proud to be a part of this wave of increasing the representation of women in the city council. Last year, there was a goal, as you may know, to elect 21 women to the New York City Council. When I joined the council last year, it was only 14 of us.
Wow.
This year, in my second term, it's crazy, I'm already in my second term. Here, we now have 31 women in the New York City Council.
Wow.
The largest representation of women in history. We are now the majority in the New York City Council, and I'm so excited to be a part of something that I have advocated for many years, and done the work, whether it's volunteering on a campaign, whether it's fundraising for women candidates, and what have you. So I'm really excited about the time that we're in right now.
Man, you get me excited. I'm sure I am not going to blindside you, because I did tell you about Gail being my partner here, and Gail just arrived, and
Hi,
she
Gail.
Hi, Councilwoman. It is so good to be with you this
Yeah.
evening. And I walked in just as you're talking about women.
Yeah.
And I feel so blessed to be with you this evening. Happy New Year. And I know that you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very timely. Happy New Year. Yeah, that's very timely.
Yes.
You just mentioned about 21 in 21, which is so exciting that you have reached that goal. So this year, with so many women being on the slate, newly elected to the city council, how do you think that makes it different this year?
So I think you're going to see a different approach to how we govern. I think you'll see a different prioritization of issues and legislation. I always feel that all issues are women's issues. Women are the cornerstone of our families, of our communities, and ensuring that our families have the support they need is going to be critical, especially in such a time as this, where the city is on the road to recovery, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is our new normal. And so I'm pretty excited. We have some brilliant minds coming into the council that are serious about um, ensuring that mothers have the resources they need, that make sure that our most vulnerable population have access to quality housing, to make sure that our communities are resilient, and so much more. Not to mention to make sure our streets are clean and safe.
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to see people thinking outside the box. The class that came in this term is very energized, which is, and it's like an electrifying feeling. And so I'm really excited to work with this group of newly elected council members.
Yay. Oh, it's so exciting.
You know, I'm just not going to take anything for granted, and I never take my audience for granted. We speak of the city council, right? Those of us who know how powerful the city council is. But could you kind of clarify for us the role of the city council in the government of New York and what that means for us in terms of services, in terms of our whole, living in New York City?
Absolutely. So first I will say, and this is no disrespect to any other elected, the city council to me is one of the most important elected positions. Why I say that is because council members impact our day-to-day issues, those bread and butter issues. When you think about sanitation, when you think about schools, when you think about the potholes, none of the really exciting topics, but the ones that really impact you each day, we have oversight over. We are an equal partner in government to the mayor. We are responsible for oversight for the city's agencies, and those are some of the critical areas that we focus on. Not to mention, we have authority over the taxes as well, and so the city council is a very, very important part of our day to day and how much our communities thrive.
I always think of it as the bread and butter, you know,
Yes, and I
right?
normally explain it as that, the bread and butter. Exactly.
Yeah,
Those
nothing happens, especially in an Italian restaurant, but nothing happens without the bread and butter, right?
Absolutely.
That's what you go to first. That's the thing that you most want, even though maybe sometimes you shouldn't have it. But it's the most important thing. It sets the table literally and figuratively for all the other things that are to be brought to the table. And in your case, it sets the table for all of the other branches of government to grow. You can't grow without the city council. And I don't know if you've taken a step back or not. I'm sorry, I came in a little bit late. I'm tardy. The professor is tardy this evening.
That's right.
So that never happens. But, so we won't talk about that in class. But I did want to know if you went over the councilwoman's actual geography. Did you talk about that?
No, we're not there yet because we're so enamored with each other.
And you guys are like old friends.
We're talking business of city council right now, but certainly we want to talk about the areas that you cover. And this is what I really thrive on, the fact that I serve this community in the areas that you're in, and I have a sense of the enormity of the job that you have in the development of this part of Queens. So certainly educate us as to the areas that your councilmatic district covers.
Absolutely. So I represent what I call the dynamic 31st district, following in our neighbor, the Great 28. I've adopted the dynamic 31st for my district. And it covers the communities of Rosedale, Brookville, Springfield Gardens, Laurelton, Far Rockaway, Arverne, and Edgemere.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty large spread. Are
Yes.
there any challenges just geographically? You think about other councilmatic districts that are very compact, and yours is a little bit more spread out. Any challenges with that in particular?
Absolutely. So in my district, we have a number of compounding issues. I always say that my district reflects New York City in terms of its diversity. I have a coastal part of my district, and then I have an inland part of my district.
Yeah.
I have homeowners. I have renters. I have 6 NYCHA developments, one which is a RAD development now. I have young, old, Black, Spanish, Russian, Jewish. I have the most vibrant Jewish community, quite honestly, in New York City. That's
Sure.
very active in Far Rockaway. Um, it is just extremely diverse. I have, a part of my district where there's a median household income that is over $100,000. I have another part where it's far less. And so, what I do find that no matter how many differences we may have, the unfortunate common denominator is the disparities that we see in terms of the resources we take in from the city government. Our district sends a lot of money to City Hall. We have extremely high taxes in our particular part of the city and send a lot of money back to City Hall, but we don't see those resources trickle back in. We see our schools struggling to have the proper resources. We see streets that haven't been repaved in some areas decades. We've had chronic flooding for many years, chronic dumping for many years. There's so many issues. And even with this COVID-19 pandemic, it exacerbated what we already knew in terms of some of these disparities, where we are often not on the front of the line when it's time for the city to roll out resources. We had to fight to ensure that we had testing and masks and now vaccines. And so it's something that's unfortunate. It's something that I keep at the forefront of my head and when I engage with city agencies, so that we are able to push the needle and continue to ensure that we are prioritized better.
You know what's going through my head as you're talking? The fact that there's such a tremendous job to be done that needs to be done, and there's such a short window of time to do it. And the fact that we have been pushed back, whatever timelines we had, has been pushed back by the impact of this pandemic. So it means that if you get started with a plan of executing some of these or implementing some of these drastic measures that need to be implemented, you have a much shorter time to do it. Is there anything in your planning that is going to reflect that? How do you fast forward? How do you get this done at a faster speed?
That's actually a running joke because I know my predecessor, who's our borough president now, we joke that I'll be cutting some of the ribbons for the accomplishments he's made. My successor will do the same down the line because it takes time in government for certain things to actually come to fruition. But I will say, in the short time that I've been in office, which is still under a year, we've been able to do so much. Within the first month of my term, I met with Mayor de Blasio. I was able to secure almost $100 million in terms of public safety, where we received $1.1 million to expand the CMS program into the 105th precinct, where we now have 100 suits in King of Kings Foundation as violence interrupters, to have a community-centered model to approach the violence in our community. We also had $95 million of that restored to the budget to go towards the creation of a brand new precinct that the community had been advocating for decades. And so that was just in the first few months. We also were able to get a brick and mortar testing and vaccine site in Rockaway, an area that was the second deadliest zip code at the height of this pandemic. And even right now, we've been advocating, and we talk literally daily with health and hospitals, reaching out to the mayor's office and to the governor's office. And we haven't even missed a beat, even with the changing of administrations, to make sure that this community is not left behind.
Gail, I know you want to jump in, but look, the enormity of the job that you have to do.
Right.
What gives me hope is your earlier statement about the new class of women in that city council. 31? 31.
And you know what's even more special? And as you say, in 31, my district is the 31st.
31st district, you know what I mean? Absolutely. But seriously, with women working you know, I believe that the city of New York, with our newly minted black mayor, will be able to work effectively to bring about the kind of change we're looking forward to. But you know, I have a secret, council member. I got to tell you, I have a secret from Gail, and I'm just gloating because she doesn't know what I'm about to tell her. And it makes me pleased to know that she doesn't know. So it's a scoop, my dear.
Ooh, I love a scoop.
It's a scoop, all right? So you see, the newly minted 31 ladies in that city council.
Yes,
they
and we're
have-
speaking
they-
to
they've
31.
Done, 31.
Right.
They've done something special, right? Of course, Adrienne Adams, right? Woman,
All kinds of-
first African American woman
All kinds of
to
fabulosity.
be Speaker
I
of the City
know.
Council of New York, the greatest city in the world.
Absolutely.
This is a big thing. But there's also another big thing that I
Tell me
got to tell you
more.
about. But we'll continue to talk to the council member. She doesn't have a long time with us this evening. I wish she had the full hour. I bargained with her for half an hour, but I said,
We'll
look,
take what we can get. 'cause
35 minutes.
She's fabulous either way.
So
30
go ahead,
minutes,
shoot.
20 minutes,
Go ahead.
2 hours
Have
would
it,
be
have
nice.
it, have it, her.
So with I know you mentioned our new mayor, Eric Adams, and you've met with him. How do you think working with him is going to be different than working with the previous administration, if at all?
Well, I will say that another point that I will share. I have known our current mayor for almost 20 years now. I actually worked in the New York State Senate when Mayor Adams was a state senator. So I'm actually very familiar with him and his management style. So I do have hope that he will be a good partner in government. He is someone who does not waver with what's popular, but really what's right, essentially. And that's the type of partner we need in the council. We need someone who's serious about addressing the disparities that continue to impact primarily communities of color and low-income communities. These are conversations I've spoken to him about on the campaign trail. He's made a number of commitments that have been even public, especially in terms of ensuring that each of his commissioners are responsive to elected officials. That is something that is very important for me. I did not see that or have that in the last administration, unfortunately. So that was a little cause for a little friction in the last administration. When you don't want to always have to go to the mayor, you want to be able to have the relationship with the
Right, with
commissioner.
the commissioners directly.
Reach out to them directly and get results. And so, so far, we're about a week into Mayor Adams's first term. I've been reaching out in terms of COVID-19. I can honestly say that I have been getting the responses that I need for my district. We've seen an increase in in testing vans. We received 4 new ones this week, in fact.
Okay.
And so I have hope that we will have a good working relationship going forward.
And how are the numbers right now in your district as far as COVID-19? Vaccination rates, percentages?
So my district, unfortunately, continues to have some of the lower end vaccine rates. For quite some time, we saw it under 30%, but it began to increase over the course of the early months in this role. I launched an initiative called Vaccination Sundays. So each Sunday I would go to a new church. I would speak about the need to get vaccinated. We would have a mobile outside. So when people left church, they would be able to go and get vaccinated. We ensured that our community events would have the vaccine mobile throughout the summer, partnering with a number of CBOs. And, we continue to look for out of the box opportunities, including outside of barbershops and hair salons, ideas that I had spoke to while on the campaign trail. So we see the numbers trending up, not to where we need it to be or where we like it to be, but we're going in the right direction. And it's just really going to take an investment for the city in the last administration, unfortunately, we did not have a real, I would say, PR campaign to advertise some of the sites that we had. And
Right.
so it's a hope that we will see that with this administration to help encourage it in new campaigns around this, because it's important. In order for our community to bounce back and not be left behind, we have to make sure that we increase our vaccination numbers as well. Our businesses are struggling, our schools are vulnerable, and we need to make sure that we're doing all we can on this road to recovery.
Yeah. When we get back, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we want to talk to you a little bit about economic development and education in our communities. And you happen to be sort of right in the apex of a business community, immigrant business community that's blossoming, and especially in the area of one of your offices on Merrick and beyond that. And we want to explore ways to support and encourage the business activity that is taking place. When we come back after the break, our guest, Councilmember Selvena Brooks-Powers, who must have sent a doppelganger because she talks about 20 years, Gail, ago she met the mayor.
Yeah.
And she looks 20.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I don't know.
Okay. So
Black don't crack.
When we come back, the real Selvena Brooks-Powers will join us for a further conversation. We'll be right back. This is Conversations with Clive Williams.
Are you looking for a taste of the South? Well, honey, come on down to Carolyn's. We have fried chicken, catfish, whiting, barbecue beef ribs, mac and cheese, and some collard greens, freshly made desserts, and much, much more. We're located at 2564 Hempstead Turnpike in East Meadow. Order online at carolyns.kitchen and receive 5% off your first order.
All right, how you guys doing?
Wait, how'd you get your video like that? Is that 4K or something?
Right, you got us over here looking like a hot mess.
No, it's actually a powerful live streaming app for Mac called Ecamm Live. You know what? Let me show it to you real quick. So you're able to use your mirrorless camera as a virtual webcam, and you can tweak the colors right in Ecamm Live using their camera effects, and then bring this video right into Zoom, Google Meet, and pretty much any other virtual meeting app. You can even stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn and bring in comments right onto the video. And you can customize the look, size, and position of the comments right in the app. Or you can even add your logo to the corner of your video, or yourself, or both. There are plenty of picture-in-picture styles to choose from if you're sharing your screen for a tutorial or doing a presentation. And it doesn't have to be live. You can use it to record a course and eliminate the need to have to edit it later, all in 4K quality. And if you got a green screen, you can set it up right in Ecamm Live, and you can bring that into your different meetings. If you're feeling fancy, you can move yourself into the corner of your frame to do a commentary or a reaction video. You can even add in video clips just by dragging and dropping it in. Pretty much everything's drag and drop. Y'all follow me? Okay, good. So if you want to step it up a notch, you can add some overlays to your video, whether it's a simple graphic or you want to have some titles or other info at the bottom of your screen. You can even add animated overlays like this one or this one. And with Ecamm Live's interview mode, you have full control over the look and feel of your broadcast. And you can add branded overlays to frame you and your guests and look like a real legit broadcast. And you can save each layout as a scene and switch between them with the press of a button. And you know, these days between virtual meetings, school, live streams, we on video all the time. So you just want to show up in a way where you can be confident and proud of. And for me, Ecamm Live is at the center of it all. Did y'all get all that?
You were on mute.
You get off the plane and you're like, wow, I'm alive.
You have to breathe because it's breathtaking.
It's the center of the world.
Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, Queens.
They have the Rockaways, the beach, the Flushing Meadow Park.
Small places that you never think exist.
From there, we'll go up to the Bronx.
Nature. Brooklyn. Got Coney Island. You get to happen upon things.
Yes.
Manhattan never gets outclassed.
Chelsea, Soho. Hay cosas ya de lujo. Es un área bien fancy, ¿me entiendes?
Go to the Empire State Building, go to the top of Rockefeller Center.
Staten Island.
Staten Island, there's something for everybody.
New York City's an awesome place to come with family.
You got things for kids, you got things for adults.
Even like museums have amazing story times.
That's the beauty of this organic city. It creates new flavors of what once was coming from another country.
All of it. Everyone's welcome.
The biggest rainbow in the world.
El artist in New York.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
New York State's largest African American Chamber of Commerce, known as LIAACC, is now accepting new membership candidates. LIAACC has appeared on WABC, Here and Now, NBC's Positively Black, WLIW21, FIOS1, and in Long Island Business News. Membership consists of a variety of men and women of distinction who have been bestowed some of the most prestigious awards in the region. We host monthly membership meetings and signature events, including the Long Island African American Business Expo, Annual Health Fair, Ladies of LIAACC Annual Women's History Month program, and our annual Black History Month art exhibition. Join by simply logging on to our easy new membership sign-up portal at www.liaacc.org.
Hey, right back with you. Conversations with Clive Williams. I'm Clive, and this is Gail to my right. Follow us on Instagram at Our World Media. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, Our World Media 1. We have been conversing with a history-making council member, trend-setting council member, one who brings youth, vitality, and tremendous experience to her role. I'm just here hoping that in the future, that when people start running to represent our communities, they bring that kind of experience with them. Council member Selvena Brooks-Powers, District 31, Councilmatic District 31.
Right here in Queens.
Right here in Queens. We're back with you, council member, and we wanted to talk to you about a little bit about economic development and in our community. And I'll start by saying a major problem that I see in our communities with our small businesses. They are thriving, and they begin to dream dreams of expanding their businesses, and it's cut short by not only high rents, but the fact that they never have any hope of owning the building in which they're doing business. Now, you and I know that part of the success of business is, especially the retail business, the brick and mortar business, is owning the property, or else the rent just keeps going up and up.
And that also ensures, it helps to ensure some generational wealth as well. You'd have something to either pass along or to continue the business in someone else's hands, in the family, or even just sell the building, outright.
Absolutely.
So it just contributes to that generational wealth or disparity that we see in our communities.
Yeah, and I think honestly, it's a discouragement. It's a barrier in the way of young people starting businesses in our community. What thoughts are being given to that in the city council member?
So a couple of things around that. You're right. Owning the property is where the real generational wealth is. It also helps to ensure that you're not pushed out at any moment. Right. I've seen people in our communities work so hard, pour their own personal dollars into these businesses where they don't own the property, only to be told that their lease will not be renewed. We've seen the rent on Merrick Boulevard, for example, skyrocket over the last few years to the point where many people cannot afford. Quite honestly, I almost couldn't afford the office space that I have.
Yeah.
Because of how much the rent has increased on Merrick Boulevard. And I've been paying special attention to the vibrancy of our small business, because that is something that I'm extremely passionate about. In fact, in the last budget for fiscal year 22, I provided grants, neighborhood 360 grants in Rockaway as well as on the mainland to assess our merchants. So on the mainland, we have ESA with the Farmers Boulevard bid that has done a full assessment of Merrick Boulevard to tell me how many businesses we have, how many have closed, all of those metrics. And the same thing goes for RDRC and REMA and Far Rockaway doing a similar study. The next step is to work with SBS to see how we are able to support these businesses in a real way. I've been from the very beginning saying that I want to be intentional about the funding that I give into our communities and what that looks like. How do we make them look better? How do we help them survive? Legislatively, I've co-sponsored a number of bills this past year, including a bill that would allow a path for curing violations instead of just outright getting penalties, fines. I was really happy to see that our new mayor is even talking about, not going straight to be punitive with our small businesses, because these small businesses are the cornerstones of our communities. Also with the tax lien sale, which is something I've continued to advocate against happening. What I did was, because we didn't know one way or another if it was going to get canceled or not, I worked with CBOs and did a multi-pronged approach to notify property owners in my district of the lien sale and what resources were available to cure that. And through those efforts, we were able to successfully have several businesses and property owners to be able to get into a payment plan where their property came off of that list. And so
that's huge. That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
life-changing.
Yes, absolutely. Because we want to make sure that the people who have been in our community get to stay in our community. And so we have to be intentional. It's not a cookie cutter approach on it. And, we've been dealing with them as a but I'm looking forward to really working with my colleagues in government to put a plan together that will really address this issue long term. So it is definitely a priority and a need. And I want to ensure that people like me who are lifelong Southeast Queens residents have that opportunity to be able to own their property. That's why I was so excited when the Essential Kitchen opened up a few weeks ago. Diana Rose had a vision for our community where our small businesses can have a space to cook and to sell their product. We see the Black Resource Network bringing this energy to Southeast Queens where it supports our small businesses. And the Laurelton Farmers Market, in fact, which in my opinion, was almost a launching pad that created a Black-owned supermarket right here in our district. And the sad reality is we have a Black supermarket in our district that wanted to purchase the property. But because of the rates that these property owners are trying to sell for, and in most cases, they don't want to sell at all.
I was just going to say, that's because they don't want to. Absolutely.
In most cases, they don't want to. I mean, I grew up in St. Albans off of Farmers Boulevard, and if you remember across from where the Walgreens used to be, that full block of those brick row structures.
Oh, yeah.
That have been vacant for a generation.
As a child, it was always boarded up.
Right.
It was not until about less than 10 years ago that they had one part of it rented out. But even still, for many years, it stayed like that. And so we have to have legislation. And I know there's been legislation that has come through the council that will penalize owners that have these dormant properties also in our community, hopefully to encourage them to do something more with it also. And so there's so much to be done in this space.
Oh yeah.
And I'm looking forward to engaging with the community on this. And I encourage people who have ideas to reach out to my office and talk to us about it. The one thing I loved when I worked in the Senate many years ago, we used to allow the constituents to come in with ideas for legislation for the senator to be able to introduce in the Senate. And my office is going to be the same. If people have ideas that are good ideas, I want to know about it. How do you see us improving our community? Because it's a team effort. And so I want people to know they can call my office, they can speak to my staff, they can speak to me, and let's talk about these ideas and push legislation that's really going to be transformative.
Let me just remind you, folks, Conversations with Clive Williams. We're having discussions with Selvena Brooks-Powers, council member, 31st District. Gail, you know, this it's time that I break the news to you. Been keeping this on the wraps. I don't know how I do that. But of these 31 new women in the city council, not only is that a powerful number, but guess what? Selvena Brooks-Powers is the majority whip.
Oh my gosh.
Was that
congratulations?
Now that was an election process, right? Tell us how.
No, that was an appointment.
That was an appointment. How was
Yes.
that? Explain that to us.
So the election process was that we elected a new speaker. Let's start there, because this is historic, especially for our community, but really for the entire city.
Yeah.
We elected the very first African American speaker, period. There has not been a man or a woman that has been Black to lead this body.
Yep.
It's history. And now our leader is none other than Adrienne Adams, who represents the Great 28 in Southeast Queens.
Yeah.
I am super excited for her leadership in this moment. It's not a light moment, because as I've said throughout this whole conversation, it's so many issues that are pressing not only in my district, but really across the city. And she is at the helm and is going to have to direct the ship. And I'm super excited about her new role. And I'm here to support her as well as her partner in government. And so Speaker Adams appointed me to be the majority whip. And what the majority whip is someone that works with all of the members to help, one, I would call it produce the best bills. So making sure people are comfortable on the bills that we are passing, that they feel comfortable enough to vote on those bills to move them forward. So it is an exciting opportunity. It's going to be a lot of work. I know that for a fact, but I'm up for the task. And thankfully, we have some really cool members in the council, so it shouldn't be that difficult.
This is a big deal.
This is exciting.
Yeah.
And do you think that Councilwoman Adams, now Speaker Adams, is she the first glam ma in that role?
Actually, she is the first mother and glam ma in that role.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
This is just huge. Yeah. Congratulations to you as well. Oh my goodness. This is an embarrassment of riches. This class, I feel like we can't lose.
My heart is congratulations. I'm so proud. Now, you do know that our council member is the daughter of immigrant parents, right?
Yes. Where are you from? Shout them
Jamaica.
out.
They are from Jamaica.
From the yard.
Really? Okay, what part of Jamaica? Do you know what part of Jamaica?
Yes, Manchester, Mile Gully.
Oh, Manchester. You do know that Manchester is the only parish that rivals our climate here, in terms of winter. It gets pretty cold in Manchester.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, you've been there. You've been there as a child, right?
Yes, I'm often in Jamaica. I definitely grew up knowing my roots. Spent a lot of time as a child in Jamaica. was left there by my parents for some time, but we won't go into that level of trauma. But I returned to the States, and even since then, as a child, each year I was fortunate to be able to go several times out the year. Actually, majority of my family is still in Jamaica, between Jamaica and England, and so I still visit and really love my roots, and am extremely proud of my roots.
It's a beautiful thing. I didn't know you're from the yard.
Yeah. and Gail, she's talking about from the yard, so she better reveal herself real quick. We need a reveal from you.
Oh, I need a reveal, Gail.
Oh, I'm Vincentian. No, yeah. The yard spans many islands, and many languages, and many, we are a diaspora of people.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. That's why I love you so. You're the best.
But two things, just to get back to the city council for just a moment. I know you're open to ideas. So 2 ideas I'd like to float. For the upcoming class, the 31 of you, and now that we have some people in power who we have some kinship with, which is a beautiful thing. Yeah. We have some laws on the books about noise in New York City. I would like to see those somehow enforced. In our communities where we have loud mufflers, things like that. If we could just get the cops the tools that they need to enforce those laws, what a revenue generator it would be for our city. I mean, between the mufflers and everything. And please don't tweet at me about the mufflers. You guys know who you are. But if we could enforce the laws that are already on the books by giving the cops the tools that they need to do that kind of enforcement, I think it would just bring money into the city, which would be a great thing. And also it would improve our quality of life, especially in our communities. First thing I'd like to talk about. Second thing is, let's see. I don't know. I have so much on my mind. But I'll let you go.
Yeah. The next issue that I'd like to deal with, I have a personal beef here, council member. Education. I tried, and you know this. I wanted to get my grandson in a school in Cambria Heights, where I live, and that school told me that even though I'm a resident of Cambria Heights, and that school is in Cambria Heights, they wanted my grandson to go to the school that was closer to him in Cambria Heights, as if I don't have a choice in the matter. And I think having a choice in the matter is very important. I think anything other than that is discriminatory. And so what is the policy that the Department of Education pursues? And, it's in a way, it's a rhetorical question. But going forward, I'd like to ask you, how are we going to address this issue, where parents live in a neighborhood, there are 2 schools in the neighborhood, but they are insisting that they're choosing for you which school to go. Something's wrong with that?
Okay, so I think it's 2 things. So one, I want to acknowledge Gail in terms of the muffler. So quality of life is definitely a big priority for me, but also ensuring that we are not punitive where we don't have to be. Because in our community, I find that we are, we overcompensate in terms of the penalties that we get.
We're the recipients of overcompensation in our communities.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We don't get enough of the COVID masks and vaccines and all that stuff, but we have more than enough cameras and now bus lanes everywhere. So there's a way to look at these issues and not necessarily be punitive in it. And I think that conversation is something that we could have to try and be creative and see what other tools are in the toolbox.
I'm sorry. I wasn't really thinking about the people who are but going after the people who do the work, and I don't want to say going after because that's a terrible thing to say too, but not the person per se, but the people who are allowing this to happen. So the people who are installing these things.
Right, exactly.
Let's go that route, because you could get more money out of those people than you could off of Joe, who's driving a 10-year-old vehicle. Do you know what I mean? So not that Joey.
No, so that's a good point you bring, right? Because, like, for example, in New York State, there is a certain percentile in terms of how much you can tint your windows, right? So
So who's doing the work, right?
Right. And so similarly, we can look at something like that as well. So these are conversations to have, and I received that. And then in terms of education, Clive, you will be extremely happy to know that I had a meeting with our brand new chancellor a few weeks ago, a few weeks before he became the official chancellor, David Banks, who is no stranger to Southeast Queens either.
Absolutely not. Right? Yeah.
East Queens is doing really well this year. I mean, the mayor is originally from Southeast Queens. Yeah. His chancellor is from Southeast Queens. We're doing really well. And what excites me about Chancellor Banks is how thoughtful he is in education, how out of the box he thinks, and the barriers he wants to break down. He really wants to improve our schools. I think he did a really good job with Eagle Academy and his vision with that school. And I think he is going to work with communities like ours to be able to address issues like yours. So that is something that I know. There was a community meeting when he came to Southeast Queens a few weeks ago, in fact, and issues like this also came up in terms of him wanting to, and he also responded wanting to hear more so that it can help inform some of these decisions. So I'm looking forward to working with him and to raising these issues with him and his staff so that we can have those addressed.
Yeah, you're on the ball. Yeah. I mean, look, this is clearly you're newly married. Well, not new, but been married for
7 years this year.
7 years this year. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And I know your baby girl went through a little trying time. And the reason I mention this is to say that all of us during this time has had some trial and tribulation. All of us has had to deal with the tremendous stress that the pandemic has brought on, because even though we all get sick, the fact that you get sick in a pandemic is even more difficult. And the way you've been able to handle your life and the business of the council and the concerns of all us New Yorkers is admirable. And you're sitting with us, you're calm as a cucumber, and talking to us about what you've been accomplishing. Personally, I'm really very impressed with you. And I'm going to say this. I am delighted. When I came to America in 1988 to live, I'd been coming here long before that, but I started living here in 1988 for real. And the images that I used to see, council member, if I were talking to you back then, 33 years ago, the person wouldn't look like you. Okay? They wouldn't be representing my interests, my best interests. They wouldn't be talking to me at the level that you're talking to me, honestly and caringly about a community. They would have other interests to protect and to pursue. And so I am just delighted that I can look at someone who looks like me, looks like my family, that is responsible for pursuing my greater good.
Whose family is literally from the same place as your family.
Absolutely.
Like, what is that? That is huge.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And you know, whoever is within the sound of my voice, we're on Our World Media. Check out Our World Media. Just Google it, Our World Media. On Instagram, we're Our World Media, at Our World Media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Our World Media 1. And you will see what we've been doing in the community. This is a platform that's for you. And we're hoping, council member, that you will at least say to the speaker, Speaker Adrian, you got to get on with Clive and Gail on Conversations with Clive Williams, because that's the most exciting time I ever had. All right. So, no, but
Absolutely. This has been a wonderful time.
yeah.
And I will say it has been a trying time, not for me, but for people across the country during this time. And I think it's important for people to just remember to be kind to themselves, to show grace to themselves, because we're all going through it. We're all going through something. You know, a lot of people may see the photos on social media and just think everything is picture perfect for me. But my days can be extremely chaotic. There are days that can be extremely hard, but my faith is centered. I know where my power source is, and you know, I just continue to plug along, and I know what's at stake. I know what's at stake for my community, and I channel my way of fighting. I always say when I was a child, I used to get in trouble all the time. Actually, fun fact, I used to fight all the time. Now I channel my fight a different way.
You're still fighting for the rest of us. Yeah.
With people. And it's critically important for me. I watched my grandfather in Jamaica, West Indies, active and engaged in fighting for resources and rights for the people of Jamaica. And that is where my interest even came into this space. And so I wasn't raised to back down. And some people may not appreciate it, but that's okay as long as I'm delivering to the people who sent me to City Hall.
Generations of fighters in your family. We love that. It's an absolute embarrassment of riches for us in Southeast Queens. This I was going to say this semester. This class of the City Council.
Yeah, to all the young ladies who are watching this, and please share Conversations with Clive Williams. You can just send it to a friend so that they see this episode. We'll be on YouTube, and the podcast is going to be on all the platforms that you usually go for your podcast. Spotify, Apple. My grandson can tell me. So it'll be posted soon. But you know, for all the young women who are watching this, all the young girls. Whether you're in school, out of school, there's one very tremendous young lady, Naomi, who is in our studios here. She's going on to college soon. And for you as an example, council member, to be able to talk, and she's hearing you, she's seeing you. This is the kind of example that you are setting, and
you're setting an example to moms. You're setting an example to those of us who work. You're setting an example to those of us who live in the community. I mean, just the example that you are, the exemplar that you are to so many different communities within our community is tremendous. And I know that I can just tell by the way that you speak and the way that you are that you carry that responsibility as something that is treasured to you, and it shows. So thank you for that. Thanks for being that to us.
You've removed some of the cynicism from politics, you know, some of the division. And, you know, when people see you, you are a politician, but we don't see you as such. And that's the image, hopefully, that we'll continue to see in the future. And in these 31 new women in the City Council, I'm sure this is going to be mirrored by them, because I believe, I honestly believe, and there's a member of my staff in the room who has known me from 1993 when I ventured on radio here, that I've been saying this. I'm a feminist. I don't like to say it like that. I like to act it. But I believe, I grew up with a strong woman. I'm not going to say strong black woman, a strong woman, my mother, who was a pioneer. And having seen what she is capable of doing, when my father was shook to his foundations, she steadied him. I experienced that. So I believe in the power of women. And you have more power than you believe, because your name is Brooks, then you have Mr. Powers, so you can rely on the higher power and the other power. Oh my God, you got power. Councilmember, you got power. Thank you very much for being with us on Conversations with Clive Williams.
From the Towering 31st.
From
I
the
think
Towering
that's going to
30.
be the new nickname. There
Oh,
we go.
I like that one. Towering 31st. Okay.
Because you guys stand way above the rest.
Yeah.
So you're the Towering 31.
I want to thank your staff for making this possible. All right. It was not easy, but we made it happen. And we're going to have you back real soon.
Yeah, come back when you've got info, when you've got new things going on. Please do.
No, absolutely. Looking forward to it. And thank you so much for having me. It's great seeing you guys.
Been a pleasure.
And
Yeah.
you see your viewers to tuning in to watch today.
Thank you so very much. This is Conversations with Clive Williams. Our guest had been Selvena Brooks-Powers. She is a stalwart, and she has set a record, and she's going to set more records. We look forward to it. We'll be following her story.
Big up to the Towering 31.
Thank you very much, Gail. Thank you very much, Mr. Producer, Naomi. Thank you, Stone. Thank you, Annette. We're out.